required to get their SEs via passing an exam. To tell people today that they can't practice what they think they're good at, we'll have our own people fighting us on this. I wish I could show you a couple of the hate emails I received. Doug, I think I shared a couple of them. There was a guy in the Tampa area, furious with me. I mean, I didn't even know the guy, and I mean, it was just an incredible email that he sent to me. He said, well, you're not only going to have to worry about raising money for a lobbyist, but with my team of engineers, who I'm going to tell them never to vote for something like this, we're going to get some lawyers, and you're going to have to help, you know, just fight the legal battles that we're going to place against you. I mean, just an angry man, and I've had a couple of those. So I kind of just sit and smile and thinking, okay, this guy is just having a really bad day today. And so I just responded politely, and what it was is he saw that happening, that he was not going to be allowed to practice being a structural engineer unless he passed an exam. He saw his livelihood being taken away from him. So that's the rub of this whole deal. If we as a profession truly were, you know, as strong as we'd like to be, we could do this on day one. I just think that we'd be fighting our own folk. Enough of our own folks who'd go to the governor or go to other people and say, we don't want this. And if legislators heard that their constituents were all ticked off, they're not going to want to pass something where there's a lot of opposition. They will pass something where there's minimal opposition, okay? Because it's in their best interest.
So is it just an affidavit, or do you have to provide a history of the projects that you worked on?
I think we're probably going to make it fairly simple. In the state of Utah, that's what they did, and it's not necessarily what you want, but if you start asking people to put together basically a resume of past projects, I don't know, maybe that will be a thing that comes out of it. Maybe that's a decision that will be made, and we'll go ahead and do it that way. My gut says no. But I agree with you, that's what I'd like to see happen, but it's easy for me to say that because I passed the exam recently. Yes?
Well, that's what they're required for threshold license. I think it would be a prudent thing to do.
Yeah, but that wasn't changed, I think, at some point. That's just, it was started that way, right? And so they had criteria, and it started like that. But there were some reasons to do that, you know, at the time. We're trying to start something that there isn't an immediate public outcry for. I mean, what do we need? What do we need? A big hurricane to come through, wipe out a bunch of stuff? Get this passed in an hour. We won't need a lobbyist, we won't need anything. So we could just wait for Mother Nature to do it for us. Because then we can go in and say, hey, we had everything ready, we've been trying to get this thing passed, nobody wants to listen to us. The public will demand it. But you know, we want to wait for the hurricane to happen. Okay? All right. So how would it be implemented? Well, beginning January 1 of 2014, that was assuming, so I need to change the slides again, PE's licensed in Florida will have a 12-month transition period. I actually got an email from somebody going, oh, 1 year period, that's really, really a narrow window. You know, I would probably miss that, or I wouldn't be told about it. I was thinking, you know what, if that's hard for you, maybe you shouldn't be a SC in the state of Florida. I just cracked me up. This is somebody I knew well up in Jacksonville. I'm like, gosh, that's just beyond lazy. But anyway, everything had to be pushed back a year because of the fundraising effort that's going on that Doug's going to talk about. But that's the deal there. So this would be 2015, and then in 2016, anybody who hasn't gotten their SC through the transition clause would then be required to take the SC exam. So don't tell your friend when this happens. Don't tell your friends that you know are somewhat you wonder about them. Just pretend like it's. I mean, the board's going to tell everybody, but just don't push them, and maybe they'll lose out on that one. Okay. So this, I think, is the beginning of your slide. So I do want to take a minute. Can I just share? I know maybe a little bit over, but I want to tell you a story that can help put some of this in perspective because it happened to me. So back in 2005, my company was involved in a project in California. We designed and built a project for Vanity Fair, just a big box warehouse. Okay, and that was back when in California they had seismic zones 3 and 4. And this building was in seismic zone 3. The building was just about finished, and it was one of my engineers who did the work. And actually, you know, I can make excuses, well, the work got done before I got there, whatever. and a different engineer signed and sealed it, but regardless, it was under my watch. So I take it like as if I had done the work myself. And as luck would have it, just as we were wrapping up, the developer who we did the project for sold the building to a group out of Utah. And it was a group that was using it as an investment property for retirement funds, for the teachers union. It's really interesting how. So imagine if you're going to buy a building in California, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to do some due diligence about the integrity of the building. And they actually have a thing there called seismic due diligence analysis. So they hired an engineer who came in, went through the drawings, and wrote me a letter saying this. There was like 6 things in the letter that weren't done quite right, and he's going to recommend against the purchase of the building.